Hey guys, making a video here. I'm going to make a series of videos to help you with doing the task activities with LJ Create with our engineering design process. So I've went ahead and I made the kits. So if you're not here at school, you can't use the kits. You can follow these videos and you can still be able to complete the tasks that you need. So what I have up here is obviously the computer programming stuff on the right hand side where you see my face. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see Google Classroom and all the other things we'll be using from Chromebook or from Chrome, your Chromebook. So again, on LJ Create, if you go to Engineering Design Unit, you'll see I have the list here of everything that we're going to be going through. And what I'm going to be going through today is the Introduction to Engineering Design task. So again, you open up the hand activity, and you follow the directions, and then what you're going to need to do in your notebook when we're done is diagram out your switch and label the parts. I'll show you what I mean when I finish it. Then you're going to modify that switch using a sensor so that you can make the light go on and off by waving your hand across it, basically changing the threshold of light that's going through that sensor. And then you're going to go take that quiz on your own. Okay, so let's jump into this one right away. So for this one, how you get into here is you open up LJ Create, and we're doing the Introduction to Engineering Design task. It's all squished in because I have a split screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this activity, and I'm going to have them read the introduction to you.
Lab work. Introduction to Engineering Design. A control system uses a program to tell it how to act. The program reads inputs from sensors and then sends commands to outputs based on conditions and calculations. Build a simple control system that uses an input from a switch to operate an output, an LED. Modify your design so that the LED is switched on automatically using a light sensor. Use the help sheets for assistance.
So a couple things I'm setting up here on the screen. I got stain all over my hands. We have our brain, our brick. You can see the screen. This piece here, this is a sensor that they were talking about. This is our initial switch. Clicky, clicky. And then this is the most important part, the drama queen of the room, the LED light lighting up everything. It all revolves around this one. So when we're setting up our thing, first thing we need to do is we need to look at the design brief. And it says that we're going to use the engineering kit to build a light switch. So we want to kind of build it pretty similar to the picture. And on the picture here, it even shows us where we're going to be plugging in this stuff. So I have our light switch here, or sorry, our LED light. And over here it says we're going to put it into input output 1. So I'm going to find input output 1 on here. 0, 1. I'm going to plug it in. And now we can see everything's kind of hooked up. And then the switch itself is going to go into input output 0, which is right next to 1. It's actually before it. Kind of weird that it starts with 0, but that's how we do things because you have to start somewhere, and 0 is a good place to start. So now I have it set up close to this picture. So now it wants us to download and run the program. Now, to get the program to run it so you don't have to program all this, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Google Classroom. I got the sample engineering designs already created, and I'm going to pull up the light switch. I also added a light sensor earlier, light switch. So I'm going to go over here to open, and this would be on a desktop. Remember, you can't do this on the Chromebook because for some reason it's just not transferring files. So I'm going to go to light switch since I got a couple things in here already, and here we go. See if I can shrink down the picture here. Okay, so let's talk about what we're looking here as I jump back to LJ Create. What we're looking at here is we are looking at the flow chart. Now, what it's showing us here is that it's going to start with an infinite loop, meaning it's going to run constantly until we shut the program down. This is how we usually want to run programs so that they're continuous and they're always consistent for us. So it's telling us that switch 1, which we put into port 0, right over here, when that's running and when it's on 1 means it's on, 0 would mean it's off. So if it's on, it says, is it on? Yes. If it's on, we want it to turn on port 1. You see how it's turned on. If it's not turned on, no, we want it to turn off. So really it's just a simple switch. Click on, click off, okay? So the switch works in this way. I can make this a little bigger now. The switch works in a way that when you click it, right now it's set at 0, ones and zeros. Try to get it there. When I click it, now it's at 1. Now it's at 0. Now it's at 1. Now it's at 0. So since the switch doesn't click and then save, it's going to go on and off. So we're going to have to think about that when we actually check to see if the light works. So what I need to do now is I need to take the software and download it. I don't have a long enough USB drive to get into the picture, I don't think. Ooh, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. But I'm going to plug it in. So I'm plugging in the USB to my computer. Plug in the brain. It's doing all its thing. So now I'm going to go up here. Now that I have the software open, I'm going to download it. This thing pops up. I have no idea what that says. And when it's finished, I can unplug the USB. You can probably hear the doo-doo. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the program. So if we want to be able to see it, I'm going to hit the enter button in the folder. Here's where it says program 1. I'm going to hit enter, and it's running its thing. Okay, now that it's all loaded, let's see if we can watch this picture or watch the light. So if it works right now it's at 0. When I click the switch, light goes on. Let go, light goes off. Light goes on, light goes off. Light goes on, light goes off. On, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. I'm having too much fun with this. So it works. It's successful. Yay. So what do you have to do in your notebook? Well, for today, draw a diagram of your switch and label the parts of the sketch in the workspace. Here it is. All you got to do is copy down how we have this set up. Okay. And in your sketch, put down what's plugged into 0 and what's plugged into 1. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to go back and do the second part, which is we're going to turn this into an autonomous light. So instead of using a switch, on, off, we're going to use a sensor that reads the light. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug. So I push in the little clip, pull out, unplug the switch. That's done for now. And I am going to keep the light in. And I'm going to replace the light switch with a sensor. Now, because I'm changing out the sensor, let me escape. We're going to have to change up the code because we can't have a switch in here because we don't have a switch anymore. Now, earlier, I went through and I made a light sensor code. Now, when you look at the sensor, it's not much different. But can anyone see the differences in what we did have? I have them side by side here. You can see we had switch 1 in input 0. Now we have light 1. So I had to go down here to sensors. Let me hide this thing. Go to sensors, and I had to pick the different one. Okay, here's the light one. Then for the decision box, I instead of saying switch 1, I have light 1. And the threshold we're going to use is 2000. So that's going to be kind of like the light threshold that we're going to work with. So I'm going to plug this in now. Okay. I'm going to download this program, which is called Light 1. Finito. Plug that back in. I'm going to separate these cords so they're not all on top of each other. So again, we have our light. We have our sensor now, our Lightener Sensor, which is going to change things up a little bit. So I think I can just leave the light there in the picture. You guys can see that there, right? Okay. Go ahead and open the program. This time I'm going to open up Light. Let it run its thing. And it's running. It's working. Can you tell? The light's not on. So it's kind of like setting up a night light. There's too much light going on in this area, but when we get to the threshold of being able to read less than 2000, we're going to see the light change. Okay, let's see if I can show you what I mean. I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to slowly move my hand. You can kind of see it going on. I'm moving my hand close. See what happens? It's flashing. It's doing its job. If I get closer and closer, I get the threshold of this sensor to be in that range of 2000 or greater. And as I get close, obviously it's going to keep the light on. So now the sensor is working. If I move my hand, turns off, on, off, 1, 0. Now we said 1 and 0 with the switch, but here what we're saying is greater than 2000, less than 2000. Greater than 2000, less than 2000, because this is now a digital sensor. So it's a analog sensor. So it's measuring more than just ones and zeros. Okay, so that worked. So what do we have to do in our notebook for this section? For this section, I want you to sketch out the flow chart of your programming. Here it is. This is going to go in your notebook for this part. Okay, so go ahead and add that flow chart, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take the quiz, and then you're going to be done with class. And that's it for today's stuff. So thanks for joining me. I'm glad I could help you kind of see how to set everything up without having the kits in class. And I'm going to do this for the other things so I can keep you moving and keep being able to take those quizzes and take your notes. So we'll see you whenever you're back in class. Enjoy the video.